in my experience with women, men and women are tense, but women are particularly anxious and insecure and tense. Maybe I said tense a few times. It's particular to talk to 7 girls, don't mind me. And a man who has experience with women, his first concern is, how can I make the woman feel comfortable? So you can do external things to stabilize her, and to a certain degree it can work, but that's just external. To stabilize a woman internally, at an emotional level, at a mental level, if I can use the word spiritual level, that means at a more core level, takes a certain amount of time, and you need to have the resources in order to be able to stabilize her. So just like you need money to stabilize your financial, external, material life, that's just at the surface. So a human being is complex, has multiple layers, and you as the man are invited when you're in the presence of a woman. That's what the money represents. When a guy meets a girl, why this is very superficial, shallow, everybody understands this, so that's why I'm using the example. It's like, I got the money because what that means, you can relax with me, everything is going to be IRA, meaning relax, everything good. No matter what, we have something, I got you. That's what the money represents. So it offers a form of stability. But human beings, and especially women, are extremely complex creatures. So you can potentially somewhat stabilize her at a financial level, at least you think. Let's just simplify. Let's say you can, if you have money. Yeah, but that's just the crust of a woman's reality. So then there's the emotional level, and that's complex. The mental level, which is even infinitely more complex. And at a deeper level, if we want to use the word spiritual soul or soul level, which I tend not to want to use, but I think you understand, at a deeper level. So stabilize, this is a whole other language. And I've said this before, and I stress this. Most people meet man and woman, and they just in a hurry. They're trying to get from one another something, if they even bother, as quick as possible. They don't even necessarily even know what it is. They think it's sex, but they're looking for something else through this so-called sexual act. Another topic we'll address a little later. So they want to get it done as quickly as possible. And they want to get through it and avoid the discomfort, because it's full of discomfort. They want to avoid getting hurt, both sides. They want to avoid headache, complications, humiliation, rejection, obviously guilt, and a bunch of things. So people are, so it's like you're drawn to something, you don't totally know why, because nobody teaches you really about sexuality. You have a feeling that what you're looking for is to scratch an itch, but you don't really even understand the itch. You've barely even scratched the surface of understanding the itch, if we can use that analogy, or we can say it like this. So anyways, it's complex. So if we go back to what we were saying about the woman, she's insecure. And in my opinion, it's normal that she's insecure. Just like the man may feel also at the start of his sexual journey insecure. The woman, I've said this to the guys, I don't know if you've watched those videos, she has to receive something inside herself. Today, nobody takes this in consideration, because these symbols that have a biological reality have vanished. It's like you have to receive a person inside your house, and everything that person is going to penetrate you and enter in you. So I don't want to say it's a form of invasion, but some of the lesbians and the feminists at some point would speak in this way. It's like you get invaded. Well, I don't want to say, well, it could be an invasion, but it can also be a welcomed guest. But either way, somebody's entering in your house. So when you have a guest that comes in your house, things change. You don't behave the same way. You don't do the same things as usual. Certain things you want to hide. Certain rooms you don't want them to go into. That's if you have a big house and, okay, you can come here and sit here in the greeting room or whatever it is. And then you're a little uptense because you want to show appearance and whatnot. And to let a person really come in your house and establish themselves there, you need to be really comfortable. Anyways, I'm saying a lot of things at the same time, but what I'm trying to say is that it's intimidating to let somebody enter you. And I'm talking to women, guys, and it's like, well, how often have you been taught in your education? You're how old?
35.
She's 35. So how many times in your life, in your sexual education, and you've gone through modern education, you've gone through the new age sexuality, you've gone through all kinds of things, yoni eggs this, yoni this, tantra that. So she's been around in the sense that you've looked at a wide array of education on sexuality for women. Well, how often have we spoken about that it's a thing to be penetrated? Could you answer?
Never.
Okay, so this is an experienced woman who has experienced that has has an eclectic experience in her sexuality and her education in sexuality. It's been an interest for her. And what I'm saying about it's something as a woman to be penetrated, is it fair to say?
Yes.
It's never been addressed or so rarely that she doesn't recall. Yet it's the basic foundation of sexuality as a woman, and you as a man the penetrator and the woman the penetrated. Now, of course, some people will say, well, this is a masculine perspective. We can say that the woman engulfs the penis. Yeah, it could be also true. It's not the point. But the point is, the symbolism of a phallus is a masculine principle. That means it's symbolically penetrating, represents the plus. The womb or the vagina represents the vacuum, the receiver, the negative. And of course, the negative can absolutely swallow and engulf the positive, especially if it's petite. Petite in every sense of the word, right? Anyways, let's not digress. But so it's most likely one of the first times. We've had multiple conversations before, but you've not been educated that it is something for a woman to receive. That would be better, so we don't have to speak about to receive a man and allow him in your house. So that is so basic in sexuality. It's so basic, it's ridiculous. It's like learning to speak. You don't need to know. To learn to read and write, you need to know A, B, C, D, E, F, G, or whatever language the alphabet. It's so basic. Everybody knows this. That's why it's taught everywhere on earth. Write and read, these are the basics. So what's the ABC of do, re, mi of sex? Well, I have a penis. It represents fullness. It, through its shape, looks like it wants to enter. And the vagina, on the other side of the woman, it will be entered. So what's the experience of being entered into as a woman? And as a man, what is the experience of being the enterer? That's the very essence or the ABC of sexuality, and nobody speaks about it. It's weird. Well, it's not weird at all. It's like you go. Imagine you're in an alien world where ABC is weird. So I don't know much about snakes, but I know one thing. It could be scary, and if I could take that cobra's head in my hands or have a stick that keeps it far from me, I'll feel safe because I have control. So when we are insecure, whether it's a man, woman, whatever, you must take control of the scene. But now we're in a sex scene. So how do I take control in the sex scene? So in your specific case, and you're not the only one who acts like this, but there's different strategies. Some we'll speak about also later. It's like, well, I need now to offer a certain kind of performance in order to make sure that this person falls head over heels over me, and quite frankly, I will add, becomes obsessed with me. Would be fair. So that I remain in a position of control, and I'm not vulnerable. He can't leave because he's obsessed with me. Yeah, maybe if I'm with let's say a top tier man, he may go elsewhere, but he must return because no other woman's vagina can compare to mine. He will come back, and when he does, I will squeeze harder and punish him. I'm also in control. I'm in control that, well, I'm in a way inaccessible. I can't be vulnerable. I can't be fragile, I can't get hurt, I'm always in a position of control. So this is not a criticism, but guys, this is just to give you a sense of what's on the other side, and this gets more complex and varied in textures and colors. So for me, sexuality, and this is how I started, it's like, well, me and as a man, when I'm in relation with a woman, in fact, anybody, when I'm meeting a man, my first man, or a woman, or a dog for that, or an animal for that matter, depending on my mood, but generally, if I want a pleasant, non-violent exchange that's fruitful, beneficial, and fluid, was to help the scene be relaxed. If it's not, it's tense. And tension eventually bangs on each other. So let's say you're doing martial art and you want to so martial art is like fucking. It's a form of dance. There's an encounter between two people, two powers. One may be more masculine, that means more on the aggression. One may be more feminine, meaning on the defense. And these energies are going to dance. Right? So, but if the atmosphere is relaxed and there's a respect of one another, I'm talking about in sparring. It's not violent. You're dancing, you're moving, you're enjoying, but the moment there's a little bit of tension in one or two characters, somebody's going to get hurt. Somebody's going to strike harder because they're tense. Their actions are uncontrolled and they have something to prove and they want to feel safe, so they tense up. Somebody's going to get hurt because there's going to be some kind of clash, because that's what tension does. So generally, my way of, I'm very diplomatic. I'm gonna meet somebody, I want the scene to be relaxed. I don't have to be a clown, I can be. I don't have to be, I need to show that I'm superior. No, but I want to create a pleasant atmosphere. If we bring this to women, so as a man with a woman, my first, depending if I'm trying to get in her pants, this is an expression so you understand, intimate, I want her to relax. Because if she's not relaxed, she's tense. That means if I want to screw her, I have to bang through the resistance. And of course, you may have the impression that you're doing so, but she has her own game, which is much more psychological than yours, and she'll be doing something that you're not going to necessarily realize. I don't find that fulfilling. It's not fulfilling for the man, only in his mind because he's got a new notch count, or because he's obsessed with his gonads and he's got an ejaculation and the girl specializes in giving it perfectly squeezed coming. But there's nothing deeper than that. And for me, that's extremely unsatisfactory. So, and I know that for most women who are not obsessed with their organs, it's also they leave and they feel dissatisfied because there was no connection. There was no intimacy. There was no deep, profound circulation of energy. And there cannot be deep, profound circulation of energy when there's tension. That's the very basics of health and healing. If you're tense, energy circulates at a minimal. The more you relax, which is science, the more energy circulates. The more energy circulates, the more the cells get drenched in pure blood. The more oxygen circulates, the more your body becomes blissful because there's life circulating everywhere. And sexuality just heightens or potentizes it to the next level. It becomes very focused on the spine. So how can that happen in an atmosphere that is tense? Well, so the answer is it's impossible. No, it's possible. We can hack into the nervous system. We can use sexuality as a tool to hack into the nervous system by perfecting the mastership of friction. And that means a certain kind of people want to play the game of friction. Like two hardcore boxers, Mike Tyson and I don't know who, that they're like specialists at riding tension. So this is a very specific kind of sport, but your average person feels this is not a pleasant atmosphere. It's scary. Something bad is going to happen. Yes, somebody's going to lose. And that's how your average person lives sexuality. Somebody's got to lose. Either I'm going to lose or I'm going to win, but somebody has to get out of the scene and say, I'm on top. Is it not? Let's be honest. Those of you who have sexual experience, and especially in the casual hookup culture, somebody's got to be on top. Well, that's how sexuality is understood by your average person. Which means what? From the start, there's no security, there's no safety, there's no comfort, there's no home, There's no ceremonial or ritualistic place where we can relax and we safe so that both parties, man and woman, in heterosexual sexuality, obviously, can relax when there's nobody who's, well, on top in the psychological sense. I beat you, I took, you lose, you lost. So if that's your average encounter. So for me, this is it's painful. Listen, I'm not an anomaly. A lot of people feel this way. It's more and more, and that's why the younglings, the younger generation, are avoiding sexuality because it generates so much internal conflict. They don't understand the game of sexuality, rightfully so, with no education and brainwashing and conditioning. And all they know is that when I'm engaging in sexual relations sober, that means I'm there, I feel uncomfortable. I feel uncomfortable just being in the space. Even when I'm clothed, I feel uncomfortable. Imagine when I'm naked. I feel uncomfortable with every part of myself. I feel uncomfortable with my smell. I feel uncomfortable with my vagina. I feel uncomfortable with my lips. I feel uncomfortable with my penis. I feel uncomfortable with my size of penis. I feel uncomfortable about my teeth. I feel uncomfortable about my nose. I feel uncomfortable about my hair. I feel uncomfortable with everything about me. I feel uncomfortable. But somehow I still have an appetite and I need to go towards this. At least some people still do. So how am I going to do this? I got to create now some kind of persona that I can control that gives or presents a certain appearance that I feel more or less comfortable with. Or I can just keep you always at that angle, and with that angle, with the makeup or my chiseled jaw, and you don't see this. So I'm going to keep you always at that angle. So from that angle, I always look exactly like that, which keeps me like looking like what I want to look like. And from that place of appearance, we can enter into the ring and see who's going to win. Somebody's going to take, somebody's going to lose. And at the end, and I promise you, that's why soberness is key. When you stole from somebody, you're going to feel dumb. You're going to feel humiliated. You're going to feel like a lowlife because only a lowlife steals. You're going to feel like a thief. You're going to try to push it away because culture and your stupid music teaches you that that's being the man. You're Biggie. You went and banged the stupid girl before her boyfriend came. And now he came and you went out the window and you're going to tell a story to your friends. That's you. You think that's cool. That's not cool. That's the height of fucking no self-respect. I have to stress this before I go back to my main flow. This is the very height of no self-respect. Essentially, that woman is using you, disrespecting her so-called partner or boyfriend, and you think you're the man because you're a play toy that she uses, and you think you're more powerful than that guy now because you can fuck his girlfriend. Now, I understand you. No, if you had any self-respect, you would clearly see this is not masculinity. This is like a vagabond. This is a bum. This is a loser. This is a person who's in such deficit that would behave in such a manner. There's nothing cool about it besides the song that comes out of it. And that's even arguable. So this is your basic encounter. So if we come back to the starting point of our conversation, well, as a woman, I'm speaking on behalf of women, funny to say, well, I'm not comfortable, and now I feel rushed to have sex with you. I feel in a hurry, I feel pressured. Already I'm uncomfortable, and if let's say I like you or have an appetite for something that you have and I wanted some kind of resource, I don't want to lose you. And we all know that that girl over there, Susie, she's a hoe, and she gonna give it to him if I don't. So now I gotta, no disrespect to a Susie, I just picked a name. It could have been Aline. Why not? Anyways, all I'm trying to say is that this is a hard place and a hard atmosphere in order to learn sexuality, learn about yourself as a woman, as a man, learn about the dynamic between a healthy dynamic between a man and a woman. It's nearly impossible. In fact, it's not nearly impossible, it's impossible. So imagine that while as I'm talking to the girl now, you're trying to like find your frame where you are pussy paradise. In his world, he's also building his compensation, whatever that's going to be, and he's going to try to sell you onto that. So technically you have two hustlers that are meeting. Now, this is not a disrespect. It's just to say, well, this is the nature of it. So you have two hustlers, and this is if they're far enough in the game to want to even play this, because like I'm saying, the newer kids, the newer generations, they're even avoiding this because it's hard and it's painful. They don't even have like the resilience to hold the facade long enough because it's exhausting. Right? You got to play that part all night, and maybe you're going to have the unfortunate unpleasure to meet her again. Like, it's hard, it's demanding to play a character. So that's essentially what I'm trying to say. It's like, in my humble opinion, that's not a place where one learns about sexuality in its true sense of the word. This is only a place for pain. Now, there's a thrill that one can find in being a thief. And that's the other side of the coin. Well, there's listen, everyone's watched Ocean 11, at least some of you, and now they did a bitches version of it. Whatever, there's a thrill in being a thief. It takes your mind in very special places that naturally it doesn't go. So the fact that you're going exploring these special rooms of your psychic capacities it brings a form of intoxication. And then to start doing making certain actions that break all rules. And I'm not talking about social rules with the popo. I'm talking about laws of nature. And you start to now break or infringe on these laws. The very fact that you break these laws gives you high. And you can experience this in so many ways, but essentially you just broke a law. It's fear, and fear is nothing more intoxicating than fear. And if it's squeezed in a particular way, you're going to get high. So there's a pleasure, there's a form of pleasure, or it's a acquired pleasure, if we can call it like this, in being a thief. And the whole game of I'm going to steal, or who's going to steal, it's a form of jiu-jitsu, if you'd like. And some people love that game. They adore it. And they want to master it. And then the entire hip-hop culture is based on the meme of this horrible, despicable, disgusting game. And you see them, this is very meme-like, right? The bitches and the whores and all their sluttery. And she's telling you, I'm going to take it all and I'm going to steal you all. And you cannot, look, it's a monster talking to you. And it's exaggerated, but not really. It's portrayed, that would be fair to say. And then you have this moron who pretends to be a gangster, who has all control, spends his money. He's a clown. His pants aren't even properly placed. He doesn't even tie his shoes. This is a man because he's got big pecs. They look like clowns, right? Literally, they look like fucking clowns. Some of them they have tattoos all over their faces, and they look like clowns, some of them. I'm like, this is a man? Imagine. So what's the thrill of being with such a character? That's a thief. And it goes with a thief bitch also. And of course, there's the reformer, the woman who wants to reform the man, which is another form of dynamic, right? The thief plays with other thieves. The thief steals the innocent, and then there's the reformer, right? There's all kinds of energy dynamics. This is insane. So some people derive some kind of pleasure in there. I've already played that game. I know exactly what it is. It's a very short-lived pleasure. If you're sober, 2 minutes later you feel guilty because you are guilty to steal something. Because listen, let me rehash something that you all know. The very essence of sexuality expresses itself in a state of security and safety and love. Everybody knows this. It's just been thrown out the window. A woman cannot relax unless she feels safe. So me as a player, what do? I have to, as quickly as possible, this is when you're sober. When you're drunk, it's another thing, right? On drugs. As quickly as possible, make the woman feel safe so that she can immediately open, so I can take what I want and go. That's Don Juan. That's a player. You can specialize in this. It's very easy. So when you succeed at doing this, and I have, when you go home, well, besides the art form of being able to manipulate somebody, because it's an art form where you're like, I'm starting to be really good at this. It's like hypnotism. I can make you feel or experience or cheat you, and you can't. There's an art form to it, and I respect all art form. It doesn't matter if it's so-called good or bad. It's an art form. Yeah, but when you do that, how do you feel after? Like shit, because you stole something. Doesn't matter that you're good and how good you are. The end result is you're a thief. And a thief means, what does it mean? The very definition of man is fullness, and you're a thief, which means you're in lack. That's why you stole, to compensate for the fact that you are not full. So obviously you don't want to feel that, because it's going to highlight the fact that you're not a man. You're a bitch. That's what you are. So you don't want to feel that, but that's what you did. You're a thief. And on the other side, the woman is going to do the same thing, try to hustle you in a different way. So how do you meet in a place of safety when everybody's trying to steal from everybody? Nobody wants to learn. Nobody wants to have a moment where we exhale and have an actual conversation and an actual exchange. It's impossible. So this is what we have in our modern day sexuality. It's a war zone. And I'm repeating myself, more and more people want to opt out. I don't want to play this. It's dangerous. It fucking is. And not everybody is equipped to be good at the game of thievery. Not everybody's a good thief. So this is a game of thievery and hustlers and people want to steal. Not everybody's equipped properly to be good at the game of hustling somebody out of their power. Anyways, so once again, it's normal that as a woman you feel intimidated in the presence of a man. And as a man, it's also normal that you feel a form of discomfort, especially when we add all the expectations and all this madness to it, which creates a form of chronic irritation. Everybody's sexuality is irritated. It's always like triggered. And when your sexuality is out of balance, you start to be like a drug addict. You're looking for a fix all the time. That's not real sexuality. In a way it is, but it's not. It's not. You're like a drug addict. It's like you drink Coca-Cola, you always need more Coca-Cola because it never actually quenches your thirst. So you can say that Coca-Cola is good, I'm always drinking. I'm like, nah, because you're drug fiend now. You always need more. Because something is out of balance in your system due to the Coca-Cola or the lifestyle of Coca-Cola. So the same with sex. When you start going away from natural laws, which you don't even know, you start to break your system open and it becomes addicted to a certain kind of drug or sensation just to function. And you always need to drink more Coca-Cola or have this cheap sex to kind of fill you in a way so that you can keep on going. Despite the consequences, despite how it makes you feel, despite that the whole thing is just a sham, and it leaves you unsatisfied.